sometimes 911 it can make you mad because she
Oh,
was like asking
yeah.
me like 50 million questions, and I'm like, chick, I don't know this dude. He trying to get in my house for what? I don't know. Like what? Like I mean, what more?
The police, yeah.
Can you send somebody? Because I don't know what. And
What's
she, yeah,
happening? Yeah.
yeah, and she just kept on, and to me was irrelevant questions, and maybe, maybe they were relevant, but I got aggravated and straight hung up.
Did
Cause
you?
yes, I'm not gonna sit up there and you asking me like he my boyfriend or something.
Welcome back to another episode with Gettin Real with your host D
Run.
and today we're going to discuss don't ring the wrong doorbell.
Man, it's a shame that this is happening. For those of you who don't know, how old, do you know how old the young boy was? I'm assuming
16.
16.
16. Yeah, 16.
Yeah, he was going to pick up his twin brothers, and he went to the wrong address, and he was shot in the head and in the arm by the homeowner. And the homeowner has been charged, but I mean, how traumatic is that? 16 years old and being shot just for knocking on someone's door.
The wrong door. I mean, and yeah. And according to the little boy or whatever, Ralph Yarl is his name, 16. This is what in Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and the little boy stated that was able to tell the police or whatever in a statement that he went up to obviously gone up to the door or whatever. There was no communication. There wasn't a altercation. Didn't even get to any of that or whatever. The man. Mr. Leslie,
Shoot first.
just shoot first. No questions. Like, you don't even know what I want. And my thing is with that, if a stranger, and there's options, meaning a stranger appears at your door, you're not necessarily expecting anyone, or if you see or look out or ring, whatever, we have all these gadgets and things right now, technology. If you're looking, you don't even have to respond, open a door, over the case may be. That may not necessarily been this man's case because he was 84, so I would imagine he wouldn't even have those things. But could he have just said yes, hello, and not even answered the door? But you just you look and you see, so according to him, a 16-year-old African American boy, black boy, that appeared to be his size and demeanor, his stature. He felt threatened. Have you really seen that little boy?
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. And it's a shame that we are having these conversations. And from what I read, that even after he was shot and he, went screaming, like through
For
the
help,
neighborhood
yeah.
for help, that he was still told to like lie down.
Yes,
and,
I saw that.
And like as if he was under arrest. Now I understand in their defense they didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
That and there was a white neighborhood, but why is it that they feel so threatened?
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, you don't, not knowing someone and they were shot, just call the police. Yeah, it's a very sad situation, but unfortunately, this isn't the only incident that has recently happened like that. Another young lady that was 20 years old, and it said I believe in New York, her and her friends turned in the wrong driveway, and this was a white on white incident. And she was shot and killed.
Just
like what is it? What is it with everybody? Shoot first and ask questions
later, afterwards. It's like everybody's so trigger happy these days.
Yeah, it's like the purge almost. Like you just shooting people really?
And like you said, no questions asked. I mean, I don't even understand that. So go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I had a situation before where somebody came to my door, didn't know who it was, and he seemed like he may have been on drugs or something, out of his mind, because I don't remember if it was hot or cold outside. I just remember he was sweating profusely and he was like trying to get in my house. I immediately called 911.
That's different, yeah.
I immediately called 911. They came right on out, and I described the person to them, and they said that that person was mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
But at the and you know, it was scary, especially me being at home, and it's just me and Foxy, and and somebody trying to get into my house, and it's a male, and he, you know, and I don't know what he was trying to do, and he was
Right.
talking crazy, and he was actually trying to get in, you know. I still, even if I would have had a gun now, unless he came through the door,
Right,
but
because he was
I
just
like,
attempting to get
yes,
in. Right,
yes,
didn't
and
make it in. Because if you
yes,
get in,
yeah, that's
well,
another
that's
story.
another story. You might not
Yeah,
make it out, but yeah.
but I did immediately call 911, and the lady, you know, sometimes 911 it can make you mad because she
Oh,
was like asking
yeah.
me like 50 million questions, and I'm like, chick, I don't know this dude. He trying to get in my house for what? I don't know. Like what? Like I mean, what more?
The police, yeah.
Can you send somebody? Because I don't know what. And
What's
she, yeah,
happening? Yeah.
yeah, you know, and she just kept on, and to me was irrelevant questions, and maybe, you know, maybe they were irrelevant, but I got aggravated and straight hung up.
Did you?
Yes, I'm not gonna sit up there and you asking me like he my boyfriend or something.
And I'm telling you, somebody, a stranger, I'm
Yes,
not aware
and
of, I don't know, is trying to get in my house.
and I'm like, he's sweating. I think he on drugs or something. And she asking me like, what kind of chick? I don't know this dude.
Send somebody.
Yeah,
Like
and
now.
saying, yeah, like this second, like. You know, send somebody. We gonna have a problem. So I just hung up. You know, it seemed like when you hang up, they get there a little bit faster.
Did it work for you?
Yeah,
Did it work?
They came on
They
out.
came.
But yeah, she's like you, and she kept she called back. You know, they called back. No, y'all need to get on out here. I'm not gonna keep talking to you while you sitting up here asking me like, is he my cousin, a distant cousin, or whatever. You know, that was what she was asking.
Whoever
But,
it
you know,
is, yeah.
I don't know him. I never seen him before, you know. And it was just like, but like I said, when the police got there and I described him, and they told me that he had a mental situation, which I mean, that didn't make me feel any better.
Yeah.
But you know, they knew who he was, and they just said they were gonna patrol more or whatever. And I want to say he ended up coming to one of my neighbor's house a separate night knocking on her.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of crazies out here. You never know what may happen with people, but I'm so against shoot first, ask questions later. In the incident with the 20-year-old that was shot in New York, it said in the article that I read on that they were out in the country or whatever. They realized it was the wrong location, and they didn't even get out the car. So like, why are you just
and
shooting?
that was white on white, and you know, just you just shooting, like you said. I don't know. It's
like, well, everybody practice.
I think so. I mean, because life at this point, I mean, is just not valued. You know, and it's not. I mean, because people are getting killed behind senseless, like nothing. I mean, incidents like this, nothing. Arguments. Okay, what? You look at me crazy. I'm about to shoot you. You stepped on my jaw and you stepped on my like what?
But I can say that I'm glad that the people that did these things have already been arrested and charged, and you know, hopefully the victim's family does get justice. But this is just crazy. And then, you know, there's no we need, I don't know if we need stricter gun laws or what, but I'm glad, like I said, that justice is moving swiftly. But I mean, what can be done to stop this?
You know,
mess?
I mean, because obviously we know that there's definitely a racial component here in this situation with this man or whatever. Because just think
the first situation,
the first situation, not the young ladies. In the first situation with Ralph Yarl, because just let's flip it for a minute. Just think, had that been an older, doesn't matter my age, but a black gentleman, African American gentleman, who shot a white teenager. Oh, please. And you know, although it would have been a whole different situation, and he was, although he was arrested, that wasn't right away. I mean, he turned himself in. That wasn't right away. And then he was questioned and released after a couple hours. He went back home. He went back home.
Oh.
Had that been my brother, husband, cousin, anybody that looked like me or you, no, that would have been handled differently, quite differently. He went home. And I feel like sometimes, in most often, I feel in instances in cases like this is that when charges are filed, it's almost like because we have to, because we know there's gonna be some sort of rally, retaliation. Y'all might burn down the city. It's not because out of fairness. It's because, oh Lord, we better do something, and we better do something quick because Kansas City gonna be on fire. And that shouldn't be. It should be because it's right. But you handle it appropriately and accordingly, no matter who it was. But it's a sad situation, and again, here we go again. It brings up, as a parent, having that talk again, the talk about racism. Because again, that's what it actually boils down to. So if with your kids, or no matter what the age, it doesn't matter. Whether you have young children. At that time, you need to just be open. I feel like as a parent, you have to be open and honest and have these conversations about racism, previously in the past and even now. And just obviously age appropriate language and all that used or whatever. But and again, whether it's a young child or your older child, I have some younger children. I have an older son, a grown son that I still worry about, and this is scary. And I fear every day. I pray over my kids and cover them, all three of them. Because you don't know. For one, I have school-age children. That's a whole nother issue. If you're going to go to school and come home safe because of, the shooting situation.
So let me reel you back in real quick. So, what do you think as a community we should do when things like this happen? I know you mentioned about burning down the city and retaliation. So as a community, what should we do when things like this does happen?
And listen, out of the frustration, I mean, I have not directly been affected about any situation like this, so can't say what I would do in a situation like that. But with that being said, I do think we need to stop tearing up when something like this happens. We need to stop tearing up the grocery stores, the institutions, banking institutions, whatever that looks like in our communities. Because what happens is when we do all that and we start burning everything up, everybody else that was either marching with us, even others of the other ethnicity, whatever, they're over here, we're rallying together and protesting, and that's great. And once you start destroying things and vandalizing things, they go home. They go back on their side, and yes, it does. A lot of cases. Sometimes it's
it ain't just us that be doing that, and I hate that the media portrays it like that. But like in the George Floyd incident, it was everybody that was like raiding Target and everything else.
Yeah, they take.
And sometimes it's not even us. It's they know
they come
that,
in.
Yeah, and they do that. So
that happens. You're right.
I hate that is portrayed like that. But I and you made the comment that it's never happened to you or in your family personally, and God forbid. But when these
nothing to that extent. I mean,
when things like that happen, it affects all of us, even though it's indirect. It affects all of us.
Oh, absolutely, because it could easily be the George Floyd could have been my son or whomever. It could have been me. You know what I mean? It could have been you. So I'm just saying. I was just sharing that I haven't directly had to again, heaven forbid, God forbid, having to deal with that directly. But although it's not directly me or my loved ones or close relatives, it's still me because it's a representation of me because they would treat me like that. I think we probably all have encountered some sort of racism. I've been profiled driving down the freeway here in Houston. Look up, I'm just driving, minding my own business. Look over, there's an officer. We're riding neck and neck, and I'm looking, and now at this point or whatever, you start to feel. Well, I have kind of feel anxious and anxiety because like, oh, what? Because I'm not doing nothing but riding and driving. I'm listening to music, going about my business in my day, driving the speed limit. You're looking around, and when this happened one particular time, we're looking back and forth, just riding side by side. And I guess after he ran the place, checked on place, whatever he was doing, he literally just sped on off. And it's like, why? Why? My oldest son, he's been stopped coming from leaving from the golf course. Okay, what did you stop him for? Why? So it happens, like I said, and I hope it's out. But And like I said, you definitely don't want anybody to experience this, whatever, because it can definitely be traumatic. In this young man's case, Ralph Yarl, the 16-year-old, definitely wishing him and his family prayers and many blessings for a speedy and healthy recovery physically. But what about mentally? He still have to deal with that, the
Yeah.
encounter that he had. So it's still not over. There's still some healing that's going to have to take place physically and mentally.
Yeah, because I know I would be afraid to knock
Oh,
on
absolutely.
anybody's door after
Probably
that. I
leave out
know.
the house. I mean,
Yeah, it and going back to the George Floyd incident, and then we've seen so many, the Philando Castile, and the I can't remember his first name. His last name was Rice, Tamir Rice. All of these different incidents and all these things are recorded, and nothing happened basically.
that's the thing. Nothing happens.
And even in the incident with the young man in Dallas, where the police officer entered the wrong house and he was killed sitting on his couch. I mean, like, how, like, it does cause anxiety, but I don't know what exactly we can do as a community to fix this thing, because it's a bigger problem than just within our community.
Yeah,
Why is everybody shooting? And in the other incident in New York, like, what caused the person that shot her, what caused them to do that? If you are that afraid of people in general, then you don't even need to have a gun.
that's true.
and
So
and and I I don't want to say gun laws need to be stricter, because I mean, if you want anything, there's other ways
yeah,
and
to get it.
avenues
Yeah,
of getting it. So I don't know whether to say harsher penalties if you do, you know, shoot somebody that you shouldn't have, somebody knocking on your door or turning in your driveway. I mean, that's insane. Like, why would you shoot anybody just pulling up in your driveway? So now,
and it makes you think, because we all have done that.
Yeah.
I try not to do it just out of respect, but honestly, I did that just this week. I would go and show a property. I turned in somebody's driveway, like, oh, whipped up in their driveway, turned around. I just did that.
yeah, and because GPS will have you all confused and discombobulated, because she'll say turn here and you turn there, and next thing you know, it's rerouting, and you like, wait, what? I'm going left, right,
you're
upside.
lost.
Yeah. And then it's steady rerouting, and you like, wait, I don't know whether to go left, right, up. I don't know which way to go.
So and the next thing, you shot or have lost your life behind being lost. Something as simple and common as being lost. So
yeah, and now I'm gonna, if I'm going to somebody's house I never been to, I'm gonna be like, come outside.
Let me
come outside. I'm here. I'm here.
How about I'm down the street?
Yeah.
Not before you even get there. I'm down the street. Let's go ahead and prep you and get a position.
I'm gonna blow the horn. I'm gonna share my location with you, so you better have an iPhone. I'm gonna share my location with you, and when you see that dot, and I'm pulled up, you come on out. Otherwise, I'm gonna keep going. Cause like what? Like, like what? What happened on the run? She got shot pulling up in the driveway.
She thought she was at her house. However, it was 2 doors down and no questions asked.
Yeah.
She got shot. We're laughing about it now, whatever, but it's definitely a serious conversation to be had, and go back to the table in regards to, is it gun laws? I mean, reinforcing these laws, something. But even with that, the laws, and if they create stricter laws and regulations, even with that being said, who's it going to apply to? Just us? You know what I mean? Does it not apply to Mr. Lester?
So when you mentioned earlier having talks with your kids about the situation, so what kind of talk should we have with kids about? You said about racism. I mean, I don't think there's anything you can actually prepare your kid for, as far as okay, when you get pulled over by the police, you got to be straight ahead, hands on steering wheel, do not reach for anything, or you could be shot. Now you don't need to go to anybody's house unless you've been there before.
Tell them to come outside, like you said, send them location.
Yeah, send your location. And if you you not sure of the address, do not pull up in anybody's driveway,
Stay on the
because
side of the
if
road.
yeah, because if that young lady was shot and she was the passenger in the car, and it said that they immediately turned around. I mean, like, what other conversations
I,
do you
I
have?
think, and really, like I said, because this is not a typical conversation you would actually have. I think they occur as we have these, unfortunate incidences like this, these accidents. When they happen, that's when you have to go back and say, okay, like my oldest son, had to have that conversation with him, or when they start having certain experiences. And they tell you about it and they share those experiences. And it's like, okay, well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about what happened. How can we actually, and this is so crazy, but how can we respond? How can we behave? And we shouldn't have to prep yourself if you get pulled over, because I've done it, pulled over by an officer. One of the things I would tell my son, my oldest son, as far as driving, he's had to do that twice where he's been pulled over. And when he actually realizes he's been pulled over, he calls me. I'm like, I want to be on the phone. It happened, one time at the golf course, another time just a rather track violation. They just pulled him over. But that second time, he had the phone up or whatever, just on the console, and the officer told him. I could hear him saying, hang up that phone." He was like, and my son's like, "But that's my mom. I don't care who it is. Hang up." And in those instances, is of
Oh
course,
my gosh.
yes, it's scary because now you hung up. You hung up. But not only that, it's scary because we have to keep this our overall demeanor, and sit there and almost like yes type situation, and that's not my personality and not my son. So that's hard.
So
And
what did you
you don't want
do
to be
as a
you don't
mother?
want to be
I know that was
disrespectful.
your nerves were bad when
Very
that.
bad. So that's why I say I we still had this conversation. You don't talk or disrespect. Not that he would anyway. My son is not like that. But you don't even have to do that. You can just be talking crazy. You can just be simple as pulling your license out of whatever it may be, insurance, and they're thinking
Reaching for a
reaching for
gun.
something. So I think, like I said, it's nothing you can really prepare for. It's just when things happen, it's like, okay, how do we handle these situations if we ever encounter something like this? And then if you have younger kids, of course, just, it's age appropriate with your language or whatever, and just have to have continuously having open, honest conversations. And what's sad about this is that we're having to have these conversations at this age. My oldest son, yeah, you're driving. This is how we encounter a police officer if you're pulled over. My kids now, they're school age, elementary students. Why are we even talking about this? Well, why? It's because we have to. We have to prepare them now at this point. But once something like this occurs, because again, my kids run down the street around the corner to other kids' house, whatever, especially when they first meet somebody at school. Oh, where do you live? And then they find that out, whatever the case may be. You know, Heaven forbid they run up to the wrong doorbell. So it just warrants a conversation. What the possibilities, what could happen, unfortunately, um, and because things can happen at school as well. My point is saying that is to make sure your kids create a safe environment for them to know it's safe to always come to you if they've experienced anything that made them feel uncomfortable about their race, and talk about it, have that conversation, so y'all can discuss it, and also have the conversation and promote. I'm just saying, to get your students, your kids to nurture who they are, their culture, embrace all of that, because that's important, because that immensely can also, I think, affect them as well. It's like, well, why am I a threat? I'm 10. Why am I a threat? I'm 16.
Well, I
Yeah.
think we as black parents need to make sure that we educate our kids about our history, teach them about things like Selma, and how we were, what we had to do to
Mm-hmm.
in order to get the right to vote. Because I think now, even though racism is still there, I think that a lot of times our kids, especially, and I'm going to use your kids as an example, being that they're not in a in a lower income school or anything like that, and they're with a in a diverse
They're
setting,
very diverse
and
setting.
so
And their friends, yeah.
but they probably have friends of all races, and so if you're trying to explain to them, okay, about racism and these things exist, they're probably going to be like, what, mom, like, what are you talking
Exactly.
about?
What?
And so that's why it's very important that we let them know and show them
Mm-hmm.
movies like Selma, and things that happened, and teach them about slavery and where we come from and the different things that have happened, because I feel like if we don't know these things, and then when things like we they may not even know that they're experiencing racism,
Right.
because they're like, they've never experienced, or don't know what certain things
What that even looks
mean.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important to educate, and I'm not saying it all be like all people are evil and all this kind of stuff, but just explain how far we have come, and there's still things that need to be done,
Mm-hmm.
in order, so that they
Just to
can
move forward
understand,
and
so we
understand.
can't, so that we don't go backwards. And I feel a lot of times we leave a lot of stuff in the past and don't want to discuss certain things. When I was in Ghana, uh, late last year, I mean, I learned a lot about our history that is not even talked about here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, what? Like, and it was just very eye-opening that there is so much that we don't know, that we need to know and should know, and should seek knowledge, so that we can definitely understand where we came from and where we need to
And where
go.
we need to go. And with that being said, absolutely, as far as like you say, educate. We have to, as parents, I feel like we have to educate our children at home, because the real deal, they're not going to get it at school. I mean, they're not trying to talk about slavery, any of that at school. So it has to happen at home and have these conversations. And everything we're talking about now, it has to come from home. Teachers, that's nowhere in the curriculum. Talking to your students, explaining well, slavery, not even slavery, even how to handle these situations. No one even wants to talk about it. We always want to sweep everything and push everything underneath the rug, and no, it can't happen. But like as you stated, we got to do something to make a change, because we cannot continue. I think the generation moving forward have a better chance, whatever. Because like my kids, in terms of um, racism, I don't feel like it's not gonna go away. I think it's gonna still be there to a certain extent in any arena. But like my kids or whatever, they have a rainbow of friends, like literally, So we go in and out of each other's homes or whatever. I mean, we literally all treat each other like my neighbors and like family. They're Indian descent, white, Caucasian, black, whatever, and so it is very confusing for them when things happen, because they are lost and like, wait, what? Why is this happening? You know, so it's those hard conversations, but I think at the same time we have to be real about it, and have these conversations and be open and honest, and like I say, just creating that space for your children to know, hey, because when you have those conversations already at home, and then when they go out to school or baseball or football, whatever, outside of school, other arenas that they're actually in, and something happens that makes them feel uncomfortable, they're like, oh yeah, my mom, my dad, my grandma, whomever, they sat down and talked about with, oh, this is what she meant or whatever, and then they'll be open to come and tell you, hey mom, hey dad, whomever, this is what happened to me at school today, or this is what happened, at baseball practice, this is what happened at football, and it's like, okay, and talk about it. But
So have you talked to your kids about
oh yeah,
racism?
I had to talk. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I've talked to my kids, even like not wanting them to see everything, but a little bit even with George Floyd, because it's real. It's not going anywhere. Like I said, it may change, or we have definitely progressed. It's gotten better, but it's not going anywhere. So I had to, and that's when I said, even opening with this episode, I said, ring the doorbell, ringing the wrong doorbell. Please don't do that, because then it brings us as a parent, as myself, having to have that talk again. Because we've had the talk, had to, and my thing is having to have this talk at such a young age, because they're experiencing it like now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's unfortunate that these things happen, and unfortunately, what is the solution? What can be done about
How do we
these
get this
things?
right?
And yeah, and so we would appreciate you guys' feedback on what can be done, because here it is, in just a week's time there was an incident with black on white, which the way the in the article that I read, it did say that it was racially motivated. There was some racial components to that. But then you then have the incident with where the 20-year-old, she was shot, and
Mm-hmm.
she was
It's
shot by
white on white.
somebody white, and they just turned, and it wasn't just her, it was a group of friends. They turned in the wrong driveway and they were shot. So what can be done about this? And what can we do about racism? How can we close the gap so that you know you're comfortable around me, I'm comfortable around you, and that it's not that we're against each other, but we understand that there are differences. And to me, people are lying when they say, "Oh, I don't see color."
No, we
I
all
mean,
see color. Yeah,
it's a difference. We, yes, we all bleed red, but there's a difference. There's a difference in how you do your hair, how I do my hair. Everybody's,
we're
when you think
different. Yeah,
about the black culture, we got all kinds of hair textures. you
that's
know
true.
and we are not the same, and we are different, but we just have to embrace those differences. And so, we just wanted to shed light on the situation. I mean, this topic has so many different components, from racism to gun control to how do we all just get along, and when do you talk to your kids about
About what age
racism.
about racism, right?
It's just
And
so
you're
much
forced
in
to.
this. Yes. And it's just like, where do we begin? What do
Yes.
we
How do we
do?
come together, like say, as a community? What can we do to get some dialogue, conversation about each other? Ask questions, whatever it's going to take, or whatever, for us to understand one another a little bit more and work together.
Yeah,
You know.
work together. Yes, I definitely agree on that. And so that wraps up today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. And we are getting real with your host, Ron.
Indeed.
And you guys tune in next week, and make sure you like, subscribe, and tune in.